What's up, welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Task, the HBO crime drama miniseries. For now, it's still a miniseries. Does this become Task Season 1? We're not sure yet. There's some grumblings about this. We also had these grumblings about creator Brad Ingelsby's previous show at HBO, Mayor of Easttown, and that show remained a one-season miniseries. So we'll see what happens with the future of Task. Right now, it's a closed story. I really enjoyed HBO's Task. I think the way this show progressed as a slow-burn character drama, not bothering to try and be mysterious about its plot. You as the audience understand most aspects of the story before the characters even do. The show is able to sustain itself without any of that suspense thanks to several absolutely stellar acting performances. Chief among them would be Tom Pelphrey and Amelia Jones, but further down the call sheet, Fabian Frankel, Mark Ruffalo, Allison Oliver. A lot of great performances. I love the way this show is grounded in a real place. The production is excellent. We're out in the woods and nature a lot. There's a lot of depth. There's a lot of nuance to the journeys you're watching these characters go through. And while it's certainly heavy and somber material most of the time, I couldn't wait for the next episode, despite the fact that, again, there was not much plot surprise. To me, a show like this is kind of the platonic ideal of what you want a crime character drama story to be like. And that's not to say that everything excels in this series. I definitely think there's some stuff that's uneven at best, such as Tom Brandis, Mark Ruffalo's character's home life. I think a lot of that stuff is kind of up and down throughout the season. You know, his relationship with his stepdaughter and his biological daughter that we spend time with as kind of like a C plot in the story. That's kind of up and down, although I do think it lands the plane surprisingly well at the end. You know, Tom's speech to Ethan, that statement for the judge in the courthouse, really powerful stuff from Ruffalo. We know how great of an orator he is as an actor, and surprisingly, the writing matched with his performance really pops. It's an emotional scene for sure. And when you match that with Tom taking in young Sam as a temporary foster parent until he finds him a home, and then in the finale he does find a foster parent family, I think all of that was really beautiful stuff because it's so directly connected to the journey that Tom, as the lead character of the series, was on, in terms of, this former priest who has a crisis of faith of sorts and goes from being a priest to a FBI agent, quite the transition, and is tasked, quote unquote, with forming such a task force of a bunch of cast-offs, a bunch of nobodies, nothing special about it. They just have to do something. In this case, look into all these armed robbery attempts on these trap houses in Delco County, Pennsylvania, right? That's the pretext for our show. And, I think when some people might be watching Task in the beginning and they think, oh, is this show about Tom Pelphrey's Robbie? And while he's, of course, the second lead in the show and a huge reason why Task works so well, it ultimately ends up being the Tom Brandis story. That's really what this show was. And the way the Robbie story transitioned and mixed along with the Maeve story, alongside Maeve and all of Robbie's kids, her two kids that she's taking care of, I think also all of that, it just really comes together in a nice, beautiful way, despite the fact that, again, there's only so much plot to really communicate here. Amelia Jones as Maeve, from the beginning, it was a really grab you, stop you in your tracks type performance. But to be the lead of Coda, Best Picture winner from a few years ago on Apple, to contrast that with this performance, they're just completely unrecognizable. And I think this is a true level up performance from Amelia Jones, where she is going to be thought about and viewed as a different caliber of actor moving forward. I was really impressed with what she does as this young woman who has just a lot to manage in a truly unfair way. Of course, Tom Pelphrey as Robbie is going to be viewed in a similar fashion moving forward. He's someone with a lot more experience working in TV, but of course this is a true star turn from a non-star performer. And that's I think a great, showcase of HBO's ability to just let their creators cast the way they want to cast and do their thing, right? If this show was on Apple TV Plus, the Robbie character would be someone of an equal fame stature to Mark Ruffalo, right? But they got the right man for the job. And when you think of the various scenes of desperation that Robbie goes through, especially towards the end of the series where it really picks up its pace, Pelphrey's just able to communicate so much with his face, with his eyes. It's a great performance. I also really enjoyed Fabian Frankel as Anthony Grasso, who was largely telegraphed, and we expected him to be the mole within the task force, and of course that is revealed. And Frankel once again playing someone who's not entirely good, a la Kristen Cole on House of the Dragon, where we all first really met him. But I love the way his character wrapped up to conclude Task, where he actually is basically overcome with a ton of guilt for what he's done as this person supplying the Dark Hearts motorcycle gang with information from within the inside of law enforcement, and all that guilt that's wrapped within him, but also explaining his justifications for it, right? Like the show feels so real, and the way they just cast and place supporting characters, whether they're various like Dark Hearts members or his sister who we meet for the first time in the finale, right? Like I just love the way the show really takes you from place to place and progresses you through these emotional understandings just at the way it wants to. I've really quite enjoyed it, and I think Frankel was able to communicate quite a bit of range, across this back half of the season, particularly. Of course, this kind of leads us to Alison Oliver's character of Lizzie, who was quite the firecracker from the beginning for someone who doesn't really have all of her shit together in an amusing way. But watching her get close to Grasso and then seeing what happens to her in the penultimate episode, which was just an incredible episode of television, right? I mean, the double whammy of being at least temporarily deafened by a gunshot right next to your ear, coupled with an inability to hear a fast-moving vehicle approaching you and literally walking out in front of it to your death. That was a heavy episode, and that was a really hard-hitting, scene and character death, because Oliver as a performer was able to really imbue a lot into this character, and that I think just speaks to the strength of why Task really works and why it's one of my favorite shows of 2025, because it was able to get you so connected to its entire ensemble without using just plot surprise and tons of plot mechanics to keep you interested, right? You were interested in them because they were people and what they were going through, what was happening to them. That was the chief appeal. And that just, again, speaks to the strength of the writing, the strength of the concept and the vision of the series. And we just don't get that with a lot of drama series, whether they're ongoing series or a mini series like Task. And even the true villains of Task, Perry and Jason, even those characters, they get their own depth, right? Even though Jason's a true killer and the source of most of the bad things that have happened to the characters in this series, even he is he's a wife guy, right? He is absolutely distraught at the death of Erin, his girlfriend, played by Margarita Laviva, truly making the most of a thankless part. And Perry's also someone who's consumed by both his own self-interest, but also his own guilt for being unable to prevent the events as they happened. Martha Plimpton, also, I think, really funny as the kind of, supervisor over at the FBI. You get a little bit of Coral Pena from For All Mankind, brief moment. I believe she's like a therapist type character. Would have loved to see more of her, but just happy to see her. I've always enjoyed her on Apple. And then Duso Mabedu, she probably has the least of an arc of the task force characters, but there's still, I think, enough there, and she's able to imbue a steeliness on her surface, but also some kind of interiority that comes out a little bit. So I liked her as a member of the task force, and I think the presence was a nice contrast to the kind of all over the ness of the Lizzie character. Yeah, really happy with Task. I think it just really grabbed you. I think the last 3 episodes are just absolutely spectacular, and there was enough of a hook in the beginning to keep me pretty invested. So yeah, really happy with it. Brad Ingelsby, I hope his HBO working relationship continues apace. That guy is 2 for 2, really cooking. Let's hope it continues. Let me know, though, what'd you think about Task? What you like most about it? Do you think this is a season 1? Do you want to get a season 2? I'm perfectly happy to not get a season 2, because season 1 feels like such of a closed statement. Obviously, you can keep this show going in an anthology format and just keep the task name, a la like a Fargo or something, or Black Mirror. Or this could be a true continuation where, whether it's Mark Ruffalo's Tom has a brand new task force, then we get a whole bunch of other characters. Do we spend more time with Grasso and other loose ends like that? Who knows what it could be about. I personally would rather Brad just move on and make a brand new series once again. We'll see what happens. Let me know what you most are interested in. And for more TV reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.